The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comic Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
Oh boy, is it Saturday already?
Yeah.
Woo! There we go. Welcome. How is everyone doing today?
We are cooking with gas. I know I have electricity here.
But gas is expensive nowadays.
Are you sure you want to do that?
I've got electricity.
I have induction.
Friction.
Oh, I have friction.
All right, I'll just use my heat vision.
Uh-oh. Yeah. There you go.
I'm firing my laser. Shoot the whoop. And that just aged me so hard. How is everyone doing on this fine Saturday?
We're doing A-okay.
I'm doing fine. I am more positive about understanding technology than I was maybe about a week ago.
That is useful.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but then, a lot of the stuff, internet, it doesn't come with a manual. You got to just, there's no book to it. Everything is just, work this out on your own.
Yeah.
The problem is that the internet moves so quickly that every single time you think you have the hang of it, there is something new that you have to learn. So the Internet for Dummies, quote unquote book.
It's always out of print.
It's either
out of print. It's out of what's the word?
Out of date.
Out of date.
Yeah, it's obsolete by the time it comes out.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah. Even with even if you have a PDF form, just the idea of just getting the information together.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's moving way too fast. It's not funny anymore.
Technology.
So let's go around the room. What is everyone up to today? I can see C is actually muted, so let's start with MarV.
Hey, I'm just doodling something that I did a while back, and I'm going to wink it. It was supposed to be a short story, but I never had the chance to do it. So I was on my studio taking care of some stuff, and I found this sketch, and I'm going to refine it a little bit and train my inkings. So that's what I'm going to do today.
Awesome. What about you, John?
I am working on a page or a panel for Bloodwing Angel episode, rather book 4, and this is a great way to just spend a Saturday morning and just work on a portion of the page. So,
Sweet.
yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome. You're Rodney.
Hey guys, I am working on a little strip that I did on Thursday Night Throwdown. The theme of the show was UFOs. So I have a couple of little alien characters that I created for an anthology book I did a couple years ago. They're Ross and Will from Roswell. And they reside in Hangar 18 at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
On Hangar 18, you said?
So it's just
is
a
that
little
a Megadeth reference right there?
No, actually it's a reference to Hangar. That Megadeth song is about Hangar 18.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and if you notice on their flying saucer, I have a bunch of little they've got a New Mexico 46 bumper sticker on there. They've got Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They've got Hangar 18. They have a Dayton Dragons.
There we go.
Emblem. Their minor league baseball team. The Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon sticker. And the Simpsons Isotopes baseball team. So
awesome.
just a bunch of silly things on that. That's what it's all about. It's just poking fun at the whole UFO aliens thing, and I get characters for the anthology book, and every once in a while they'll pop in my head and give me a little strip or something. So that's what I did for Thursday night. I'm going to color it today.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I did add a little bit more into the background and a couple of things onto the flying saucer. Now I'm going to color it.
Well, currently I am inking the cover for the 24-hour comic challenge that I did 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I sketched it last week, and now I'm putting it together as proper inks. So yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I really am proud of it. I finished the last pages this morning with inking. I sketched the whole thing during the 24-hour challenge, but my body decided to give out. And so I'm just fixing the last couple of things, and then once that is done, I'm going to put in the logo. We're going to think up a name, because we still haven't yet. And we'll be ready to go, and it will be available for everyone who backs the Laugh and Quarter Volume 1 campaign. Speaking of which, we are at 4 days left, so please check it out if you haven't yet. All right. To the last guy in the room, but definitely not the least. C, what are you up to this week?
Just drawing.
You know what?
Just drawing.
That is the best answer you could give.
Yeah.
Just drawing.
Just drawing.
I love it.
Doing a thing.
No thing, just drawing.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta do your thing.
Anger 18, the best heavy metal video ever. Ever.
I'd have to watch it again.
That's
I haven't
right.
seen it in so long. I don't even remember it.
Oh man. I was a kid back then, and first time I saw that clip, man, I was just blown away because that was the second one that I saw from Megadeth. First one was Holy Wars, and that blew my mind. And when I saw that video, Anger 18, after Holy Wars, man, I was hooked. Hooked. Love it.
You were in for life, huh?
I was. Wow.
I gotta admit, the only Megadeth song I'm familiar with is "Sweating Bullets."
I love that one. Yeah. Well,
Hello, me. It's me again.
Yeah. I'm a huge Megadeth fan from back in the day. I'm not a fan like I used to be because Mustaine just turned the lyrics to politic. Everything is politic now. It's politicians for this and talking about a lot of stuff that really I don't care, like politics. And one thing is just to make lyrics like they used to do back in the day during late 80s and early 90s. But then things just became weird. He just wanted to do his own stuff. Marty Friedman and the other guys did not have the influence in the music anymore like they used to have, and then he took over the band, and everything was about Mustaine, and that's where I left. I stopped listening to Megadeth because of that.
But wasn't Megadeth his band?
Yes. Yeah, he owns Dave Mustaine owns the right of the band. So if he don't want anyone to have some kind of influence, like a riff, whatever, some kind of creativity in an album or music, he can just shut that guy down.
Yeah,
that's what happened with a lot of the former members, because he wanted the rights, everything for himself. So every time that someone had an idea, he just said no. Anytime that happens, somebody had a great riff or a great solo. It wasn't the first time that he changed a music because someone else was doing that part instead of him. So I think when you're in a team, because a band is a team.
It's
right?
deep, yeah.
You should let your bandmates do the best for the band, right? So he got into a point that he was the only guy basically making everything. He was the lyrics, the everything related to a song is his. If you go to the band's former albums, you will see that the other guys had their input, but after a while, you pick up a Megadeth album and you just see Dave Mustaine, and that sucks.
Yeah, Monopoly. Okay, there was a way I was going to say this. Monopoly kills creativity. Doesn't matter what you're looking at. So
yeah, well, here's the thing about that.
go ahead.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like take Metallica, for instance, where you had James Hetfield basically was the one coming in with the riffs, with the lyrics and everything else. Then let's give that power over to the rest of the band, and we got the worst Metallica album ever. Ever. So if the style doesn't jive, but with Megadeth, it really wasn't necessarily Dave Mustaine who started that band. I think it was Marty Freeman, if I'm not mistaken. Who
No. Marty Friedman came way after Megadeth.
Was it way later? One of them, whoever it was, discovered Mustaine. He was living next door or whatever. But Mustaine was like just from the outs of having been outed by Metallica.
Yeah, he was
in a
fired
depressive
from
state.
Metallica, and then he met David Ellefson, and they start making, some gigs together, and then they formed Megadeth. But Marty Friedman came in 1990, I believe, because he was the lead guitar on the Rest in Peace album.
That might be. I can't tell you every member of Megadeth, but yeah, one of them was. And that's what I'm saying. Though, regardless of where Marty Freeman came in, I was wrong about that. But the fact is that it's not just Dave Mustaine; it was somebody else who actually got Dave Mustaine to play with them. So, in all honesty, Dave Mustaine's not really the originator of Megadeth. So,
okay. Well, I was mistaken there.
No, you're not. Because MarV's right. He's kind of taken over the whole thing, which is wrong. However, let's be honest. It's Mustaine's style and writing that elevated that band the way it did.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between direction and dictation.
True.
And if I'm hearing MarV talk about what the band turned into because of one guy doing everything because he vetoed everyone else out, you can either be like, okay, because he has a vision and he wants to keep to that, which would be direction, but then he would be listening to other people's in the band. But if he actually doesn't listen but only does his own thing, then you're looking at dictation and you're just going to push people away.
Yeah, it becomes a solo.
Yeah,
with a backup.
exactly.
I would say anything else, even a strong leader will understand how to use everybody's strengths. And if you're so far off of, if you're not on the same page totally, then why are you together?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the music business, that always happens because there's usually one guy in the band that is the most talented, and but it all depends on his ego. Mm-hmm. If he's a megalomaniac and has to have all the power and all the control, it becomes a Megadeth situation. Or if it's somebody else, if you're lucky enough to be in a band where you have equal talent distributed all around, say like the Eagles, where every guy in that band was incredibly talented and could write and sing and play. Well, I know that's one of your favorite bands.
Golly, I've never been an Eagles fan. Never.
Okay. No. If you're not an Eagles fan, Queen. Yeah. Let's be honest here. If we don't go for the Eagles, also fuck yeah, Eagles. People don't talk about them enough. Sorry, C. But if you're gonna disagree on that one, like at least agree on Queen, because all of them could write, all of them could play pretty much everything, and all of them distributed to every album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, we're five guys.
See, I know what I'll give you for your next birthday. Eagles' greatest hit.
Boy, you really are trying to make enemies, huh?
What a good friend to have.
I don't even like their most popular song. So what does that tell you?
Oh boy.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh well.
Yeah, no, I'm not an Eagles fan at all. But they even had their egotism too, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, Don Henley and Glenn Fry and Don Feldman. It was well, of course, the whole Don Feldman thing was all politically driven. but yeah, there was egos, Joe Walsh, so that they all went off and did their own thing, had successful solo careers, and then got back together and did a couple of albums.
Yeah, that's when hell froze over.
Yeah, exactly.
Fleetwood Mac was like that, right? They started together, then they went separate ways, and they came back in late 80s, I think.
No, actually, Fleetwood Mac nearly fell apart with two of the band members being in divorce. But the only reason that they stayed together was because of the song "The Chain."
Which one? Sorry.
The Chain.
You never break the chain.
Yeah. We should never break the chain. Like, that is literally the reason they have not fallen apart. Because there was
Not one of them passed, though.
Yeah.
Christine McVie.
Yeah.
That was a shame.
Well, and Glenn Frey passed too a few years ago.
Right.
And we went and saw Don Henley a couple years ago here in Cincinnati, and that was really good. But it was interesting because if you listen to all the, Hollywood reports and stuff like that, they had those two as, mortal enemies constantly. But Don actually talked pretty glowingly about Glenn throughout the whole concert.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no denying it,
Right.
I mean,
like they put. I mean, they try, putting in Jackson Browne as part of it, and I mean, a lot of his songs are there.
Yeah.
To begin with, but there are just some elements that just won't mesh. You can't really, replace part of a sound.
Right.
No, exactly. And what you got to keep in mind too is, like, even if you're not the best of friends and you don't get along at a personal level, you can still respect someone's craft. And like, if they didn't get along as people, that doesn't mean that they have to deny the fact that they grew big together.
Well, the interesting thing to me is those two in particular, Glenn Frey and Don Henley, they were both so talented that I wonder if it was more of, well, this song needs to go on the album and this song needs to go on the album. And it was a pissing match about what was going to be included, or if it was a personality thing, or if it had something to do with women, or, that kind of stuff always intrigued me.
Probably everything at once.
Yeah, probably. Drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
70s and 80s. Come on, guys.
Exactly.
We all know.
Yeah. Who is this again? Because I have no idea these names you're talking about.
Don Henley and Glenn Frey.
Who are they?
They're the two key members from the Eagles.
Oh, well, see, there you go. That's why I don't think
There you go.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be an ass. I just didn't know who we were.
No, that's fine.
I'm not trying to be an ass. It just comes naturally.
Yeah, well, that's because every single person has one.
Yeah.
Like an opinion.
Exactly. We just don't like listening to them. Let's see.
I think one of the biggest examples of egos controlling direction in a band is Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, just tyrants over what will and what won't be.
Yeah, but in their defense, though, Cat wrote Beth. So, and don't get me wrong, I like Beth. Beth's a good song. But, I mean, could you imagine if he was one of the key songwriters in Kiss? I don't think they'd be as big as they are now. Like I said, Beth's a good song.
Yeah.
But his solo album, even under their name, wasn't really,
No.
fantastic.
I think Ace Frehley's solo album was the best, in my opinion.
That's because he's out there. He's He personifies the name of the what is it, Space Ace?
Yeah, the Space Ace. Yeah,
Better than Gene Simmons personifies Demon.
yeah. Oh yeah.
See, that's what I've tried to go back when I've gotten older to go listen to bands that I didn't particularly care for. I used to not particularly care for Kiss, believe it or not.
To be honest, me neither.
But I have gone back and listened to some Kiss and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, I get it, and I like some Kiss, you know.
Yeah, in particular, their first 4 albums.
Yeah, well, you know, Detroit Rock City.
Yeah,
you know that has some of the big hits and stuff on. I think that might have actually had Beth on it because
that was the Destroyer album.
Okay.
Yeah, it had Detroit Rock City and Beth and Hard Luck Woman.
That's the one where they're all like jumping on the cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that said, I've gone back and tried the Eagles. I'm sorry. I can't do that. Eagles or Rush. I couldn't get into Rush at all.
Yeah, I Rush was something that I liked Rush, but the fervor that they always generated with my friends in high school, I couldn't understand. Mm-hmm. Because for one, they were constantly on the radio. When I was in high school, Moving Pictures was, you know, the biggest album of the year. And although it was okay, I was like, what's the hype? It's just, I don't understand it. So I don't know. I mean, and the funny thing is, growing up in the 80s, you know, when you're in a small town like Cincinnati, there's only a couple of radio stations to listen to, and they play the same 12 songs over and over and over and over.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, yeah.
Leonard Skinner and AC/DC and Rush were the staples on these radio stations. So I know all the words to all those songs because you had no other options. You didn't have satellite radio. You didn't have YouTube. You had the radio. That was it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the same thing everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
Growing up in New York, but then again, it's a whole different realm of my referencing is much different. I'm your parents.
No, you're my grandparents.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so who was when you were growing up? Who did you listen to? Who was your stuff that you got sick of hearing on the radio?
Well, you know, here's the thing: the radio that I had, what age group are you talking about? At what time period?
Like 20s, your teens through your 30s.
Okay. Well, okay. I started listening to the radio because you didn't have as much TV, so you had a much different realm. I grew up in New York City, so you had a ton of radio stations,
right?
And you had a whole mix of from you know a big band all the way to, you know, the top 40 to rock and roll. Actually, rock and roll was just starting when I was growing up. So there's my referencing. I mean, my dad would bring home all kinds of records. So I'm you know, he was you know, not just a big band guy. He was also a blues guy. He was listening to Hank Williams. This is in Brooklyn. He's listening to Hank Williams. I mean, you're getting the Mills Brothers. You're getting Artie Shaw. You're getting all kinds of references. And so when I'm 13 years old, it's 1962, I'm hearing opera. I'm hearing Hank Williams, Buddy Holly, you know, Teresa Brewer, and, you know, what's it, Patsy Cline?
Patsy Cline, yeah.
I'm getting all of those roots there. And then when radio started to pick up on the black music, let's say that's what they were calling that. You'd get, Presley. You'd get there were two stations. It was a WMCA, which had a group of guys called the Good Guys. And then there was WABC, which were the cousins, the cousin Bruce Morrow, cousin so and so,
Cousin
and
Brucey,
they would be,
yeah.
They would be blasting and competing with each other, with to break new stuff, and that was where you'd get the Beatles. You'd get, before the Beatles, it was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Yep.
You'd get all of the Motown stuff. Pre-Hollywood. We're talking about Motown from Detroit.
Oh yeah.
So I'm getting
stuff.
Everything. Four Tops. Getting. I'm more a Motown person, as well as the Eagles. Sorry. The Eagles were starting when I was in high school, but I also had the Beatles. I had the Rolling Stones. I had the Kinks. I had Jefferson Airplane. I had the Mamas and the Papas. Those are that's where my tastes were developed. So, as I said, I'm your daddy, and I'm your grandpa. And so I totally understand why you don't like certain things, because it's what your parents had, or what have you. But and then sometimes that's a reaction, but and that's a natural reaction. When for me, it's because I traveled around as a person. When I was in my 20s, I was traveling, going from Canada, Brooklyn to Canada, to Los Angeles, back to Canada, all in just 1977. And so music was very strong to me, and what was it? Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt. Those are all anchors that I had that came around with me, because they were also being reflected. Jackson Browne, all of that was being reflected in a melange of stuff that was happening, at that time. So anyway, that I don't think that answers your question, but that's the stream of consciousness that I have.
But you're eclectic.
I'm very eclectic.
Oh, yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I listen to everything from heavy metal to Motown to doo-wop. I love the old Motown sound. I remember sitting on the couch as a kid and watching my mom dance around, listening to Otis Redding Live at the Apollo, or Carole King's Tapestry, or all that stuff. And those albums, Ella Fitzgerald, all that stuff. Just when I hear it, it just gives me chills, because that's brings back those memories, and then driving in the car, from every weekend when we would drive, 300 miles to see family. It was, listening to the radio, which was the Eagles and Queen and Kiss and Fleetwood Mac and all that stuff from the 70s. So yeah, that's why that stuff, holds a special place in my heart. Yeah.
And music is really what immediately can evoke just transport you back to a time in your life.
Oh yeah, nothing else can do that. You listen to a song and you're back in your sophomore year of high school, instantly.
Yeah. Sophomore year in high school, every garage band learning how to do the Stones. No way. The Beatles were way too they were too slick and too complicated. Or you'd have the Kinks, or you'd have the Animals, and everybody had to do the House of the Rising Sun.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Of course.
Every high school dance ended with that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was the slow dance that you can sway with your girl.
Sound like you were in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
That freaking song. If you go to New Orleans and you haven't heard that song, you haven't had a New Orleans experience.
Yeah.
It's just,
You don't even have to go there. You just everybody knows it at this point.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about it, about that song in particular, is that the line, there is a house in New Orleans called the Rising Sun. That on its own is from the pre-war era.
Oh yeah.
So like
Which war?
both.
Okay.
The World War ones, at least.
Okay.
But like that line on its own was already a starter for a lot of songs before that time.
Well, everybody starts, with somebody else. I mean, that's the thing about it, is that you're referencing whatever came before you,
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
So, see, who are some of your favorite bands?
oh, I don't do favorites.
Well, who do you enjoy? We'll put it that way.
Who do you not hate?
Who do I not hate? I like Queen, all right.
Nickelback.
Did you just say Nickelback?
No, I can't say I've ever been a Nickelback fan. I guess when I was coming up, I was into Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Sorry.
Of course, you have your Metallica, Pantera,
Oh, yeah.
those type of things. And then there's some Ella Fitzgerald. There's Chuck Berry.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't. The issue that I have with picking favorites is every moment or section of your life has a time to connect to something, and you might connect to something musically right now that you're not necessarily going to connect at a different time in your life.
Right.
So it's really hard.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of to have a favorite. I just never really could do that. I would say that, but I've got to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't know if I could really say favorites.
That's fine.
I mean, like, I was listening to Old Dirty Bastard the other day. So what does that tell you?
Right.
It depends on the time of your life, I believe, because when I had this group of friends, we were into Megadeth and Motley Crue and all those Poison, all those hair metal bands, and before that, I used to listen to, let's say, the mainstream music, Michael Jackson and all the number one hits that was on TV. But I think there's a period for your best bands. Right now, I don't have, because I'm not hanging out with anyone, so I can't relate music to a group of people. But back then, oh man, that was everything. That was, David Lee Roth and all those crazy Van Halen, all those crazy bands from back in the day. That really took made a huge mark on my youth. I think it depends on the time that you're living. basically.
Yeah, like there are some bands that I still call my favorite, but I think the last time I listened to them was like 3-4 years ago because I just don't bother.
Well, another thing too is when you get older, because I just realized that I did the same thing to C that somebody had did to me a couple of weeks ago. Who's your favorite band? And as a teenager, it's so much easier to answer because you don't have as much responsibility and your life is hanging out with your buddies and listening to the radio, that sort of thing. But when you're older, you have so much more points of reference and so many more things that you've listened to because you have 20 more years or 25 more years of listening that if somebody held a gun to my head and said, name your favorite band, I don't know that I could do it because it's just so much and it covers the entire spectrum of music, not just rock and roll, but music.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, if someone were to try that right now, I think most of us would simply lie.
Yeah. Okay.
And it would be a half lie. Like, yes, it would be one of your favorites. If you heard it on the radio, you would totally sing along. You would be humming it. You would know every letter, like every word that's coming up, every riff, etc., etc. But would you put it on at home? No, probably not. But that being said, I think that makes favorites. The songs that you still feel emotionally attached to, even though you don't actively search for them anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And another interesting thing too is you have to be in a mood, the proper mood to listen to different kinds of music. Because when I go to the gym and I put my headphones on, I'm not listening to the Eagles. I'm listening to Pantera or Suicidal Tendencies or Danzig or something like that. That's going to get me through 45 minutes on a treadmill.
Obviously.
Yeah. So and if you're not in the mood to listen to that heavy grinding chunky stuff, you're going to be disgusted with it and throw your headphones off. So that's the thing too, is mood will dictate what's your favorite for that hour or that day or whatever.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Same thing happens with movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
I still go to the classics.
You're just not feeling a rom-com right now.
I just saw Aliens 2 days ago for the 30th time. So
which one?
Aliens.
Oh, Alien. Oh, I love that movie.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's been movies like I'm trying to think of something that I went back and rewatched. I didn't like at first. Oh, I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy the first time I watched it. I wasn't really wild about it, but then I went back and watched it again. And now I could watch that movie anytime, honestly.
Yeah.
So, there's been a couple of them. Maybe I should go back and rewatch Scarface. Probably not, though. I don't think that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's a good example because that's one that back in the day when you watched it, you were watching it with your buddies or whatever, and you liked it because you were supposed to like it.
Yeah.
It was held with such reverence and position. But when I go watch it now, I'm like, I fall asleep.
Well, you know what I watched the other day, speaking of which, and talking about music, kind of tied that in. I actually sat down for the first time and watched Purple Rain.
Oh, I'm
Well, the
sorry.
movie-
Oh right, there's a movie regarding that song.
Yeah.
And
I only grew up with the song.
Well, when I grew up, that was Purple Rain was the song. The movie was a big thing, right? You had to see that movie, and even Kevin Smith included Morris Day in the motherfucking time, right? And in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, which is from Purple Rain,
Right.
and it's an okay movie. It definitely has its 80s influence, a lot better than its sequel.
Oh yeah.
But it was a
Under the
huge,
Cherry
it was a
Moon.
huge thing. No, that wasn't a sequel. Graffiti Bridge.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I forgot all about
Oh,
that. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
more you know.
You're not missing anything on getting that one.
Okay. With
Fun
Prince also?
fact
Prince?
about Purple Rain is that was the first video cassette we ever bought.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I had the first of mine, other than kids, was Prince and the New Power Generation.
Oh yeah.
The one with Diamond and Pearls.
Diamonds and Pearls. Yes.
Yeah. So
That's such an incredible talent.
Yep.
it was.
And Naughty too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Confirmed.
He was a very weird, conflicting individual, Prince.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was. They tell you he was a devout Jehovah's Witness.
I didn't know that.
And considering the sexuality of his songs, you gotta go. Even Purple Rain has some pretty provocative scenes in it, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
you kind of go, okay, so this guy's a Jehovah's Witness. And I've read like people's like opening the door and finding Prince, and I can't remember who is like his bass player or producer or whatever on the other side. There, and she's like, oh, okay. They want to use my house for a music video or something. All right, cool. No, we'd like to come to talk to you about Jehovah.
We come to bring you the light.
Yeah.
We are gathered here today. Oh wait, he made a song about that too.
Oh yeah. Well, that's in Purple Rain. But like, have you ever heard the Prince is dead rumor? I mean, that long before he died, and he was replaced.
Oh,
No.
He wasn't. It wasn't
No.
a clone. He wasn't a clone. There's a rumor that came out in the late '80s, maybe early '90s, that Prince had died in a motorcycle accident, and he had produced enough music to still keep it going. However, the radio companies went out and found a lookalike of Prince, and
Oh boy.
this guy was supposedly, a devout Jehovah's Witness. His name was Christopher something or whatever, right? Now, and before I go into this, so somebody calls me conspiracy theorist. No, I don't believe this. I think Prince is like Alice Cooper. He could separate his art from his personal life.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, so basically, the guy has been Prince since the early '90s, living Prince and using his music and everything, and that's why you have such a conflict between Prince's music and the actual person. So, nobody's heard that before. You never heard the?
No.
Oh my gosh!
No.
They've done
Sadly,
so
no.
I heard
yeah, like Glenn
the
said, they did Paul McCartney.
the
Yeah, I was about to say Paul's
Ah.
dead. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Turn
See,
me
that
on.
one I heard before.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably where it started. That kind of thing was with Paul. Honestly, I don't know why it would come up, because there's a couple of them nowadays that they said are clones or replaced or whatever. Like, I think Dave Chappelle's replaced now.
He's
Avril
definitely
Lavigne.
his body has changed. Of course, he's a grown man now, not a kid, but
Yeah,
he used to be a string bean, and
He did.
now he's ripped.
Yeah, well, look at us, Eddie Murphy. I mean, he's very, he was a thin guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's HRT, basically. I could put my hands on fire for that.
Of course, let's be honest. I was 100 pounds lighter when I was in my 20s, so that might have a little something to do with it.
I mean, me too, but you'd still, I'm still not doing too great on that.
All that money and success and decadence will put the poundage on you.
Oh, so that's where it went. All of my young youth weight went straight into into Rodney.
Yeah, I absorbed it. Although I've lost some of it here recently, so that's a good thing. Stay.
You know, making this cover, and considering the fact that I made every single page with a brush pen, or not even a brush pen, a marker, and comparing the detail, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, what could have been.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I can put in some extra effort because I'm not on a time schedule and I want this to look pretty.
You have no time constraints.
No. And it feels so good.
So Rodney,
Yeah,
I know you've seen Ant-Man, haven't you?
yeah.
Is
The
it
new one?
good? Yeah. That-
Phase 5.
You know,
okay, that's it. Never mind.
it's pretty. It's pretty. There's a lot to look at. A lot of CGI. A lot of characters. But yeah.
Is there something about the movie that actually impressed you story-wise?
No.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I figured.
the relationship between Scott and his daughter is nice, and in my opinion, there wasn't enough time devoted to the story and the relationships and stuff like that. It was so much about the CGI and all the worlds and all the characters that they had generated, and a lot of bells and whistles and not a lot of substance.
That sucks.
Yeah, I figured. That's a shame, though.
So I should definitely wait till Disney Plus to watch
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I was actually sitting in the theater going, Jesus, is it time to go yet?
Oh wow! Ouch!
And it was just like, come on, so
Ouch.
yeah.
I'll be honest. I haven't even watched. What is it? Wakanda Forever.
Don't rush for that.
I'm not. It doesn't really interest me, honestly. That's probably what's going to happen with Ant-Man too. And I liked Ant-Man. I like the first one. I like what they did with it.
Yeah,
The first one was fun.
I actually liked the first two. They're to me they were the funnest ones. The Michael Pena character was great. I was really hoping he would be in the third one, but he's not.
He's not?
No.
Oh.
Oh.
But there is something that I will do when it comes to Disney Plus. When they first get into the multiverse, I could have swore I saw Bug from the Micronauts. Like pop up there for just like a second, but it happened so quickly. By the time I realized that, hey, is that Bug? He was off the screen.
Well, they were dealing with some licensing rights on him.
Yeah, which is probably why they
Guardian.
did that, because it wasn't an integral part. It was just something they could stick in the background.
Right.
And I was like, did I just see Bug? Was that really Bug?
Now that might actually be something to check
Yeah.
out. I've been waiting for. There's a lot of people have been waiting for Bug.
Yeah,
A lot of people.
He was my favorite.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in here for a moment. And my favorite, the only one that I really like of all of the Marvel, movies was basically the first Captain America.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
I did like that one.
Yeah, that one was good.
And with the soldier.
that's the one that
And Winter
I
Soldier.
thought was the closest, but yet changed a little bit, from the comic books and all of the elements there. And to me, that was the one that worked the best.
Yeah, I agree.
An underrated movie, in my opinion, is The Hulk from 2008 with what's the
Edward
name
Norton?
of it? Yeah, with Norton.
Yeah.
Very underrated movie. I believe it was great for the character that is the Hulk. And I believe that after that, the Hulk just became just another character just to put in the MCU, because what he really wanted was to make the Hulk pop up, right? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the studio was pushing back, always Norton pushing him back always, and he decided just to walk out of the project. But I rewatched it yesterday, and it really holds up. And it's a very fun movie, and I believe it's very underrated. The first one from 2003, I hated it. I think it was too stupid with all those comic book panels and whatnot,
What, you
And,
didn't like the dogs? What was it? The mutant?
No,
poodle?
nothing on that in that movie. The only thing that I liked, and I didn't like at the same time, was Nick Nolte drunk or high or whatever he was. It was the best of the movie. The rest, and of course, Sam Elliott. But the rest, in my opinion,
I really wish they would have just gone ahead and brought him back as General Ross.
Yeah.
Just instead of going with Harrison Ford.
Yep. I don't know why they didn't.
I guess they don't want to connect it with that first Hulk movie for some reason.
Yeah, probably.
Like, it's not that I think Harrison Ford would make a bad General Ross. It's just, I just don't know.
Well, yeah, Sam Elliott's
Elliott was
voice.
better at it.
Yeah, his voice and everything was when you think of Thunderbolt Ross, you think of that powerful driving voice, and that's Sam Elliott.
Yeah. It never made William Hurt as Ross. This didn't felt too weak.
Yeah,
that's not that I dislike him. It was just that because I like him as an actor, right? But as like I kept saying, the accidental tourist or whatever it was he was in, and I just didn't see it. Him as General Ross, it didn't work for me.
No, I agree.
The funny thing is that we don't even know what is going to happen next, because Disney is always with with those crazy surprise under the table, and they always say that the next movie is going to be better than the last one, and it's just the opposite. Every single movie is worse than the last one, and I believe that we won't get back to that time when they start the MCU, even before that with Blade.
The problem is with the MCU movies is that they have to up the ante more and more and more and more, and they got too big for what they are able to do and to show. You can show everything and anything using CGI, but in the end, if the stakes don't feel as high as they did in the previous movie, you don't have
too much now.
Yeah, it's too much, because the power struggle is no longer there. They went too high. It's like power levels in Dragon Ball Z. They don't work. They never did. They never will, and they still happen in all kinds of IPs. And I'm here going, the moment you start thinking about them logically, the whole deal goes away. Like, there's nothing to overcome if you're looking at numbers. And right now, Marvel is just trying to up the ante constantly and making those numbers bigger, where they go to a point where we no longer care. because they're too big for us to care.
Well, that I agree with
And the
that
story.
to an extent, but in my opinion, what's killed them is number one, first and foremost, is the political climate.
Oh,
that
yeah.
exists now
sure.
that didn't exist
Yeah.
15 years ago. So every movie has to be an agenda that they're pushing, which gets tired real quick and is kind of sickening. And the other thing is you're right. They started right with a smaller, with Iron Man, and but the whole Thanos thing was so on a grand scale and all encompassing with all the movies and everything was intertwined. It was perfectly executed. And now they're trying to match that, and they're executing it with all this CGI that is not necessary, and they're shoving all this CGI down your throat instead of concentrating on story and content. And it just becomes a jumbled mess, which is what, in my opinion, Ant-Man and Wakanda Forever were.
Because there is no longer a story to tell. No matter what they deliver.
There are stories to tell. But they're not doing them.
Don't get me wrong.
They're more concerned with pushing agendas than telling the Marvel stories that were in the comics. And that gets a little tiresome.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, they did the big thing. And so everything afterwards will not feel as significant because we felt the adrenaline of the big thing. We had Thanos defeated.
Yeah.
It had been building up for literally years. And then it happened. And now we're in that lull afterwards going, okay, and what now?
Yeah, what next? Yeah.
What next should be the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, which would give you a Galactus epic, or it could give you a Dark Phoenix saga.
No more Dark
They've done that.
Well, done. Not done by 20th Century Fox.
You know what? Give us all
That would help.
anything. You could give us Onslaught, but please don't give us any more Phoenix.
Yeah. No. Whatever other epic.
You can't do it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. You don't. You always do this, and you never include the Hellfire Club, which was essential in the whole Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
You include. There's so much stuff that you could do, but now by the time you get around to introducing, like you say, the Fantastic Four and Galactus and space and all that entails, guess what? We're going to be so tired. We're so tired of the freaking Phoenix saga. You'll tell it again. And we won't care.
Yeah.
But I think, and Mike's right. I think we kind of romanticized the beginning of the MCU, in all honesty, because Iron Man 2 did not do well at all.
Yeah,
it was not a great
true.
Movie. Avengers, to my personal opinion, is not a great movie. But the thing about it is we were seeing something that hadn't been done before. So if anybody was watching it, they weren't watching it. That's not necessarily because they liked the story, but because of the spectacle, right? All these movies being cross genre, and Rodney's right too, because the only way that you could go up as far as Thanos is concerned is you'd have to do Galactus.
Yeah.
But what they decided to do is now, instead of just exploring one universe per phase, right? You opened up the space universe at the end of the first the first collection, right? With Thanos and Guardians of the Galaxy, you opened up space. Let's deal with space now. But no, then you ran in and you decided to open up the multiverse. Then you ran and decided to open up the quantum verse. And it's like, okay, you've got to you got to pick something.
You got to wrap up.
Yeah, you got to go somewhere, and it's too much, and it's going to get to a point nobody cares.
And that's the thing. Like, we're there. Like, nobody cares anymore because Avengers and Endgame was a nice finish.
Exactly. Yeah.
I understand that the executive were looking at this going, oh my God, we could make money. Like, the bells were whistling. Let's fucking go. But then you look at what is actually going on, and it's the audience being built up to an ending that is satisfying, that was fun, and are now, they're satisfied. They got what they came for.
Well, the interesting thing about that is when I go to see those movies, I go with my nephew's Taekwondo school.
Mhm.
So the owner of the school will go buy like 80 tickets, and everybody in the school and all the instructors and stuff will go. So the theater has been packed. Okay.
Mhm.
And to Mike's point about Endgame, it was packed and people were cheering and standing up and yelling and applauding with
Yeah.
Avengers Assemble and all that. When
Yes,
Captain Marvel comes
yes.
back and blows up the ship and all that, everybody's going crazy. Well, Thursday night, the theater was half packed, which I was really surprised
Mhm.
because I was waiting on Mac. He had to go pick up his girlfriend from work, and they came and we got there. He got there just in time because I had the tickets on my phone, so I had to wait for them so they could get in.
Yeah.
And we missed half the previews, and we sat down, and I got on there, and I'm like, wow, there's all kind of room in here to sit. Doesn't matter where we sit. And I was like, that's a stark contrast from the way it used to be. And
Yeah,
when the movie was over, everybody just kind of stood up and was like, all right, it's time to go. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's just like, huh.
what's
You're
the
right.
credits?
It's changed from 10 years ago when it was packed and everybody was there and standing up and cheering and yelling about, they were excited. And now it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's the next installment. All right.
Well, how emotional was that Avengers Assemble, right? Like you have been waiting. They even teased it at the end of Age of Ultron, and Josh effing Whedon said, "I'll never say it in any of the movies." Well, I'm glad they fired your ass, Josh. I don't like you anyway. And besides, you might have given us one or two things, good ideas, but that's all you gave us. And I know people will hit me back on that, but when Cap looked around at all those people, the whole MCU standing right there to face this threat and said, Avengers Assemble, that was one of the most emotional moments out of all the freaking movies because you have been waiting for it. And it was like a big F you to Josh Whedon. Now, you cheered. You shed a tear because that was it, man. That was the height of emotion. And that should have been it. Boom. Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's funny, too, because you're right. When that line was uttered, I did shed a tear because I was like, wow. I've been reading this book since I was, 7 years old.
I want to be there and kick ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I was like, this is so cool. And you got you got the tingles throughout the body, and you're like, wow, this is perfect.
It didn't matter who was there. It didn't matter if there was Captain Marvel or freaking Tom Holland.
Right.
You forgot about those.
And the women coming together at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and now it's just like I'm looking at my watch, going, is it how much longer do we have?
Yeah, because you had your ending. Like the book was closed, and you had your ending. You're satisfied, and now they're just trying to get you back on nostalgia. And just like the Lion King remake, it doesn't work like that.
Oh, remake.
Yeah,
So
demake. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny. You didn't say live action.
No, it's not a live action.
It's not.
That's
not.
Okay, I got to jump in here. We're talking animation in terms of Lion King. The remake of Lion King was just good Lord!
Thank
I
you.
didn't watch it.
The best thing I could say
Money
is
grab?
it employed a lot of artists.
Money grab?
Yeah.
It employed a lot of artists, and none of the scenes matched any single scene in terms of quality and just entertainment value that was done in the original 1994-96 version.
No, because it's a loveless project.
Oh yeah, well, but it's like there's no creativity to it. I mean, when they're they're walking and talking and singing and whatnot. It's just you have like it's like you might as well have filmed live action animals and
Yeah.
put those old fashioned lips on them.
Yeah, and it would have been more entertaining.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
would have been better if he did one of those old Disney nature documentaries, right? Where they were like telling the story while they're filming it.
well,
It's
yeah.
real like
Listen, those Disney True Life Adventure series of the 1950s and whatnot were just like those. At least they had a story to it.
Right. Yeah.
All you knew is that it was sort of it was an abomination.
Yeah,
In fact, all of those redos are an abomination to me. It's an affront. I mean, you might as well have taken the Mona Lisa and just smeared it with mud.
like you cared so little about your own creative backlog.
Yeah.
That you actually threw shit at the people who originally created it.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
It is absolutely appalling.
Yeah. Well, you see, the problem is that what Disney understood, I mean Walt Disney, is that he had a new generation of viewers every 6 to 7 years. So you just just put out the film every 6 years, just re-released it, did a new one, re-released the old ones every 6 years, and you had a brand new audience. The problem is the squeezing of profit.
Yeah.
And therefore you devalue the material. And so when you try to duplicate it by putting a new version out, you devalue everything.
Yeah.
Well, it flies directly. It spits in the face of Walt Disney, regardless, because Walt Disney spent his life trying to make animation acceptable, or animation. He tried to make people, or the normies, as they like to call them for some reason, see it as a viable medium. That is just as important as live action. That is just as important as Gone with the Wind or Casablanca. That even though it's animated, it's not less of a movie than those movies. And now you're coming back making live action, basically telling Walt Disney, "F you." Yes, it is. It's so
And
it's content. It's content, and it's basically saying I have what the executives are saying is that we do not have the capacity to create.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
It's true.
And some live actions reimaginings were decent. I think Maleficent was pretty okay.
Yeah, good one.
But that was an original spin on something existing.
Yeah, see that one, I'll give that one a pass, only because it was from a different perspective. It was a different story. It wasn't. It was Sleeping Beauty, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't just a shot for shot live action take on, the animated one.
It was their version, Disney's version of Wicked.
That works.
Yeah.
That's what that's
exactly what
they decided to do.
I never thought about that, but that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of like okay, how can we make use of that? And so I mean, all of that stuff is just like, great.
Yeah.
No,
I never thought about that, but that's true. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And all the actual remakes, like devaluing your original work by re-releasing every so many years, that's one thing. That is just looking at profits properly.
Yeah.
In a realistic way.
Yeah.
That has been killed with streaming services. Okay, fine. I understand that too.
But that's their own fault too.
Yeah.
That's their own fault
to
too.
be.
But
You know what? There is only so much. There's so much juice you can squeeze out of a stone. You know, right?
exactly.
You know, I mean, and that's where it comes down to. You know, you're making content, but at the same time, by limiting the amount of material that you do and the frequency with which you do it, you give it value.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, you don't do something every year or three of them a year.
Yeah.
You know, I think the problem is that we are so inundated as a society where every blessed moment has to be entertaining. That it no longer people have the ability to stretch their own creative muscles because they've been bored.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's why put down your phones and pick up your fucking pencil. I'm sorry.
Well
No,
said,
you're
man. Well
absolutely right.
Say, we're not on
That's a
after
t-shirt.
hours, Glenn. After dark or whatever it is called.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I'm
well-
sorry. I apologize. Just bleep it out.
Oh, please.
But basically, that's
I've been
what
dropping
it is.
F-bombs left and right. Nobody cares.
That's a t-shirt. Yeah.
But no, but you bring up a point, and you know what? When Eisner was in power, they introduced something to do exactly that. It was called the Vault.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was it? You only had a limited amount of time to buy this VHS.
Yeah.
And then it was going back in the vault for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
a whole generation of kids wouldn't get to see it until it was re-released again out of the vault. And they understood we're going to stick it in the vault and we're going to be able to sell more of these because it's going to have a time limit on it. It's
Yeah.
going to make
Yeah.
it valuable. And then when they came up with streaming, we're just going to put everything on streaming. Now, 45 days after the movie's in the theater, it goes on streaming and whatever, and it's still failing.
Yeah.
Miserably.
It still fails, but it still makes more money than it used to.
Yeah.
Because streaming means that people will have their subscription going on even if they don't use it.
Yeah.
There's more money
Mhm.
now in entertainment than there has ever been. Any entertainment.
Yeah.
The point is finding it, and it's super concentrated. It is completely monopolized.
And that's the problem, because it's the consumerism, it's the truncated attention spans, it's the 30-second, now 15-second video clips and move on to the next thing. It's that
Yeah.
instant news cycle that's constantly recycled. It's what have you got? What's next? What's next? What's next?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So much so to where you can't concentrate, spend the time to consume and absorb and digest what you're seeing now, because everything's about what's next.
Yeah, because again, that's exactly right, Rodney. Because if you know that something else is going to happen, then you don't value what it is that you're looking at, because you only know it's just going to go in and out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this went deep.
Well,
Mhm.
hey,
Feels
listen,
good.
you know, isn't that what people will tune in for later?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
I'm thoroughly enjoying myself, and I know a lot of viewers do as well.
they're a little
Mhm.
quiet right now, but guys, by all means, I hope you're having a great time.
You're enjoying the discussion as well.
Yeah.
And if you're
And
new to this,
Rodney earlier talked about space, when Marvel decided to make space movies. One thing that I really would love to see, but if they do it right, it will be a huge success. Rum Space Night. Can you imagine? But it's gotta be R rating, not a PG-13 movie.
Yeah. But I think that there are copyright issues with that, because wasn't that a Hasbro
That's
property?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the same thing with Micronauts. It's why we've never gotten a Micronauts movie, because it's a Hasbro property. It was created to be a toy line,
yeah.
and Marvel got the comic book rights to it. So ROM and the Micronauts. That's why it was such a big deal for me was that Bug, because I know I'm never going to see Bug until, the Empire absorbs that too. So yeah, it's all of that, that really cool stuff from the 70s and early 80s. A lot of that was licensed property through Hasbro.
But I don't think
Or
that
Mattel, the Micronauts, the Transformers, all that stuff was, well, hell, even He-Man.
Yeah.
It was created to become a toy line.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it was a comic.
Yeah.
Just to have something to relate, people to relate the kids with the characters.
To promote it. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like the kids read comics, so you get the comics and they recognize it and they buy it. That is why 90% of 80s cartoons are toy lines as well.
Oh yeah, we were doing that with Strawberry Shortcake.
Well, yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
G.I.
I was on one or two of those.
yeah. G.I. Joe started that. It was.
Oh, yeah.
Way to get the little boys interested in joining the military-industrial complex.
No, they just wanted to sell Barbie dolls to
Yeah,
boys.
let's get their money as kids and let's get them into the the military. And yeah.
Wait a minute, Rodney. We had for like $1 you could get about 150 Green Army guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
You've had that all the way where there was always those figurines, always playing with those things.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many times. I remember getting, when in the 5th grade, a tank, that could shoot, projectiles, at my little, Green Army boys.
Oh yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally missed that. I was going to see if that was Bug and Ant-Man. It got me curious. Does anybody else see that? Well, but it would make sense, right? There was thoughts they were going to introduce the Micronauts in it. So that's what I was like, oh.
I would love it, but yeah, I don't know what the legalities are.
Okay, I have to ask one thing, because we're going to be wrapping up soon. What do you think about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman?
Honestly, you know what? Let him have it. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. I don't understand this Flash. I don't understand the new Flash. I really don't understand it at all.
Neither do they.
Yeah.
I tried watching, the Justice Society or Justice League, and the Zack Snyder's version and all that. It really just makes me like, oh, okay, I just don't get it.
Well, he's supposed to reset everything back so we could get the gun. What's his name? Sans universe.
Yeah, they killed Superman and they put Supergirl in front of the DCU. That's what is happening right now.
Yeah, that was the plan, but it's not going to be. That's not going to be the issue after Gunn, though. They're
because Gunn fired Henry Cavill.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That's not true. Warner Brothers never ever rehired Cavill. They had discussions with it. Warner Brothers let go of it before Gunn even came on board. So Gunn did not fire Henry Cavill. One. Two, it makes sense to want to go with somebody younger anyway, because you're dealing with now, we're having to set up 15 years of a universe that he's bringing in. So yeah, you're going to want somebody younger who's going to be able to stay there as the mainstay, which should actually make you feel better. Well, well, he's not young enough for 15 more years though. He's already got gray hair.
Man.
Unless you're going to do Kingdom Come, right? But anyway, aside from that, though, but that ought to give you hope that he's looking at casting a prolonged Superman, and the fact that they're not trying to do away with Superman. However, with the Flash, that was the case under the
They killed
previous
Kal-El.
thing. That they were going to.
Yeah,
They
no,
were
they
going
killed
to.
Kal-El in the movie. Zod came back and killed Kal-El as a kid.
Okay.
He killed Kal-El. He killed Kal-El in this movie. So Superman is dead, and Supergirl is now the new Kryptonian on Earth.
And that's all going to change anyway after the Flash movie. So you go back to Superman because the first movie that's coming out is Superman.
Okay.
Okay.
I think my old brain it just gets all kind of messed up. All I can say is that
This is that freaking multiverse thing. That's the problem.
Well, listen, I remember. Listen, it was a cool thing when they had Earth 2 back in the day when after the first couple of episodes, the comic books of Flash when he went back to the original Flash. Okay. And they had the two of them together. But what pardon?
Jay Garrick?
Yeah. And Barry Allen. Okay, so but the Barry Allen that I'm looking at and I see in this latest one is really Kid Flash.
Jeez, if only he was that cool.
I mean, he's just he's not old enough. He's supposed to be a police person,
Forensics,
I mean, all of that stuff. It's it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, that's why I read my old comics.
Well, that's why I said they're trying to reset. They're letting it go because it's going to reset everything, supposedly.
Yeah,
probably.
Until somebody else comes in and says, okay. I'm going to let's bring something else in. Let's start from scratch,
Yeah, but that multiverse thing is a little bit weird because the same character is not equal in every universe. Just like the movie that the Jet Li movie, the one. Every single Jet Li was Jet Li in every universe. He was a cop. He was a vet. So here is if it was possible for me to go to another universe, I won't be able to recognize myself, and that's weird.
Well,
only my name and my bank account are the same. Not the rest. My appearance is totally different. So that's why I didn't like the Spider-Man movie. I thought it was, first of all, the story was awful because even in the end, 10 minutes after all the shenanigans happened, they knew who at the end of the day, everybody was going to know who Peter Parker was because there was internet, news, books edited, launched. And newspaper. So it doesn't matter if the whole world forgot about Spider-Man, who Spider-Man was, because everything was written already. And
I don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, continue.
Well, no. What I don't understand is why are they pulling from comics that are like less than 20 years old?
Because they're pandering to the younger audience.
Yeah, but you could still. But that's why you should pull from the older stuff.
But
because if you pull from older,
no. See, what you don't understand is we're no longer in that 18 to 34-year-old demographic. We don't matter.
I don't care. We matter. But there's yeah. Well, no, I get what you're saying, and the executive mind frame, but in the creative mind space, like John said about Disney re-releasing the movies, right, for a whole different generation.
Yeah.
You could go back and go back to those stories that are from the 80s and the 70s, revamp them for the present time and pull from that. But you're pulling from Flashpoint. You're pulling from what is it? what's the other ones that they've been doing? They've been doing a couple of them that were just like, like Mark said, the worst Spider-Man is like panned as the worst Spider-Man comic ever. What was it, One Last Day or something like that? That was written where to erase Peter Parker. Or you pull it from Civil War, and it's like you couldn't even do Civil War until you introduced the whole Marvel universe anyway. So that didn't work out well. It's just, why are you pulling from there? And I think that's what got them in trouble is they're pulling from established universes and putting it in an unestablished universe, so we're not connected to it. When you could have been pulling from other things and pulling it in. How? Why are you mixing? You don't even have to mix everything in the multiverse, and you could have had a Secret Wars and brought everybody together.
Well, I always wondered why they never, when they were starting out, why they didn't go into the Kree Skrull War and or anything like that from the 70s.
Yeah.
Because that set up a lot of things that happened in the 80s. And, that introduces Corsair and the Starjammers and Guardians of the Galaxy and all that, but they completely went a different direction.
Well, the whole thing with the Skrulls, though, the Skrulls were under 20th Century Fox because of Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and so they were kind of handcuffed. I forgot about that. Yeah, they were handcuffed because half of their stuff they couldn't use because they didn't own it at the time.
Right, and I get that part, but you also took in a different alien race to here and there to replace the Skrulls. You could have done the same thing. You could have done the same thing. It's just a whole bunch of stuff, and that's even more reason to pull from the older stuff, right? Before it even gets to the Secret Wars and the Infinity War and all this, you had the Infinity War and you didn't even have Adam Warlock, so the whole thing didn't even make sense. You had to do a freaking Back to the Future thing to really to play up such a huge villain because you didn't have somebody to fix it. You might have had they not fired James Gunn and done a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 beforehand, but who knows? Anyway, that's my rant for the day.
All right, guys, we've been going for, a long time.
Yeah.
We've been going strong, like not even a single dull moment. So,
Wow, 1 hour and a half. Oh.
I know, right? Flew by.
Wow.
Well, let's go around the room. See, where can people find you?
Right there underneath my name. If you see Linktree, that's C Michael Lanning.
There we go.
/ or Linktree / C Michael Lanning. There you go.
Sweet.
And of course, I think Tuesday we're having a what is it, Rodney? The launch party for Doghouse.
The launch
right?
party for Doghouse, yes, on the 21st, Tuesday night. Come join us for that. That'll be great.
All right. Marv, where can people find you?
Next week here, and you can find me on Instagram. I just left a little bit Facebook for a while because it takes me a long time to disconnect from Facebook every time that I go there. So I'm taking my time just to continue Michael Hunter of Men so that I can release it as soon as I can. If my time is precious, if my time was precious before I started, now is more precious because I have to finish it. But you can find me on Instagram, MarV Scene Killer, and obviously next week here. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Catch you next week. John.
Well, you can find me here at on Saturdays, and I have my website, johncelestri.comics.square.site. You'll get on not just Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, but also Mega Moose and a bunch of Boba Fett sketches that I did. But I also have Tuesday at 3:30 on the Devils in the Details. I'll be doing animation on that. So, Michael is doing some stretching and I'll start doing a little dance to her own little tempo.
Ooh, nice.
There you go.
Rodney, where can the world find you?
Hey guys, everybody can find me Rodney Fyke Art on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. You can also find me on the Hasm YouTube channels and Hasm.com. That's HAZZUM.com. And most importantly, you can find me on Tuesday night. We would be doing the Kickstarter launch party for Doghouse, issue 1 of Doghouse. C's going to join us. It's going to be a good time. So come watch us get silly and launch the book, and it's going to be a Doghouse kind of party. Also, you can find me right here on the Indie Comics Network Mondays at 3 p.m. for Fyke It, Let's Draw, as well as Thursday nights for Thursday Night Throwdown.
Sweet. Well, I have been Mike Jimmy the Brand, creator of Lavacora, and you can find me over on Kickstarter with the last 3 days of Lavacora Volume 1, where you can get the exclusive limited edition hardcover, signed, numbered, and containing an original sketch by myself, and of course the softcover available in Dutch and in English, together with all the other stuff that we publish. Of course, on Thursdays afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm available with Hang and Animation, and next week I'll be back right here on Sketchy Saturday. So guys, catch you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Quick.